Oh, y'all know what time it is.
Traveling in a Friday combi on a heavy trailhead full of zombie. I met a strange lady, she made me nervous. She took me in and gave me breakfast.
Good night, mate. UFC 325, Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopes 2 takes place this Saturday night on Paramount Plus. And even though this card's, there's a little bit of not great action on it, however, it is Volk. It is Alexander the Great Volkanovski returning to defend his UFC featherweight championship against Diego Lopes in back-to-back fights. It's a disappointing match in the fact that there were some better options out there for Volk. However, it's a Volk fight. It's a Diego Lopes fight. So now that we're in fight week, just a few days away, I am very excited. And I bet y'all could imagine who I'm picking. However, we're going to be going through the entire card, top to bottom. I will be making my picks and predictions as usual. And I'm excited for this card. There's a couple of slept-on prospects. Australia is really taking over the MMA scene with some of these younger guys and exciting fighters that they have on the roster in the UFC now. So let's just go ahead and get to the prelims, and let's make these picks, and let's make these predictions. I'm not doing the road to the UFC fights. Keep it 100. I'm a loser. I said it. Don't have much of a social life. So you would think maybe I was a Road to the UFC guy, but if you're watching Road to the UFC, which is usually on in the AM, if you're in America, you're a sicko. You're a sicko, and I applaud you. Yeah! Woo! If you know these fighters, congratulations. You win the Sicko UFC award for 2026. I haven't seen any of them fight, don't know about anything about any of them. So I will not be predicting those, but I'm a bit of a sicko myself, so I probably will be tuning in for all 4 of the fights before we get into the real card of UFC 325. But let's go ahead and get right into the picks with a couple of Road to the UFC alums in Con Offley and Giza. I'm going with Con Offley. He has decent movement on the feet, very basic on the feet though, doesn't mix it up. He's pretty strong grappling, short and stout. They let the teacup out, however they say it. But he's decently well-rounded, he has more experience in the UFC compared to this Giza cat. He does have a knockout over a guy by the name of Weston Wilson. However, that guy has got chinned by everybody, and I don't think he's all that powerful as much as that knockout win would seem. He's from China. A lot of these East Asian guys, I do not trust their grappling ever. They're always very subpar, very submittable. There's very few guys that are really truly well-rounded from that part of the world. One that comes to mind is Kyoji Horiguchi, and he may be the only one. Con Offley, he's not the best fighter in the world. Lost the Ultimate Fighter season finale to Marion Santos, who's actually ended up being a pretty decent fighter. Kind of a prospect up on the rise. But I'm going to trust his overall skill set compared to Giza's. He's from Turkey, which is usually not the best part of the world to pick from either. However, he's much more well-rounded. I see him taking advantage in the grappling for sure. I would trust his cardio much more as well. Giza, he has a pretty record in 26-5, but a lot of those early fights, especially over there in East Asia, I don't trust any of those fights whatsoever. So I'm going to go Con Offley, keep this one short. He's just a better, well-rounded guy in my eyes. Moving on to some much better fights. While it may not be the best name value on the prelims, there are some interesting matchups. And like this one right here, the welterweight bout between Oban Elliott, the Welsh gangster, and Jonathan Mikalev. I don't know quite how to pronounce his name correctly. However, both of these guys I think you would still consider prospects. Oban Elliott coming off that loss to, is it Hung Chung Ko, I believe? The Korean Mike Tyson, where he got dominated. Really bad on the ground, hurt on the feet a good amount of times as well. Had some decent performances, though, before that finishes over. I believe he finished well. Val Woodburn finished Basil Hafez as well. However, Basil Hafez in that fight was he was landing head kicks with Obon Elliott dipping a lot. Even though Obon schooled him pretty much that entire fight. Jonathan McAuliffe, even though on the regional scene he didn't look all that impressive, his UFC debut against Kevin Jousset, a Frenchman who I believe trains in Auckland with like the city kickboxing crew, he's a pretty elite striker. And Jonathan McAuliffe won 29-28 and really pieced him up in those first 2 rounds. And even the 3rd round where Jousset, in my eyes, won, he kept it very close and competitive. He's young, not a lot of experience under his belt. That fight was a little bit ago. I bet he's had time to improve. And I know on here they say they're the same height. I don't buy that at all. McAuliffe is a very tall welterweight, uses his range very well, good pop on his shots as well, catches guys at the end of combinations very well. He's a bit hittable, not the best defensive head movement, but I think especially with the reach advantage and when they step in the cage, you'll for sure see the size difference. Obon's no more than 5'10". There's no way he's 6 foot tall. Even though I like Obon, he's a decent grappler as well. I think it's going to be very hard for him to get a hold of Jonathan at all in this fight with the distance management that Jonathan has. And he even showcased that against Jousset, who in his own right is a pretty long, lanky, big welterweight as well. McAuliffe's kicks are very good. Goes to the body, hits that spot a lot. Good inside low leg kicks as well. And with his hands, he's pretty basic up there, but he's very sharp and tactical as well. Powerful, like I said. I think Obon is going to struggle with that physical advantage of Jonathan quite a bit. And just overall striking level, I don't think Obon can compete with Jonathan. I think he'll have a very hard time getting in range whatsoever in this entire fight. And I don't see him getting it to the ground, and I think it's a very bad matchup for Obon. I like rooting for Obon, but I'm going to have to go with McAuliffe here. Pretty decisive. I'm going to say Obon survives, though, and goes to decision. Jonathan couldn't finish Jousset, so it doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence that he'll be able to finish Obon. Obon's very tough as well, but I think Jonathan's going to cruise by Obon in a 30-27. Pretty decisive decision. I don't think that necessarily counts Obon's UFC career out very well, that he's not good and whatnot. He's a solid fighter, UFC level for sure. However, McAuliffe, I think this guy has quite a bit of potential. His physical attributes at welterweight are very impressive, and how tactical and powerful he looked on the feet, especially in his last outing against Kevin Jousset. I think this dude's a legit prospect, and I think he's going to tune up Obon Elliott quite a bit in this fight. So I'm going to take Jonathan McAuliffe in this welterweight bout. Moving on to Jacob Malkoun and Torres Finney. This is like a miniature blob fight, all right? Even though they're not blobs, Malkoun's kind of built funky. You know, he has his torso's very short. If you want to talk about like short torsos, let's take a look at Torres Finney. Look at him. He's a refrigerator, that guy. He's like your beer. He's like a beer fridge. You know, that little fridge that beer drinkers have in their places of dwelling. He's short and stout, man. He's a very compact individual. Both these guys, bread and butter is the grappling game, for sure. However, I think Jacob Malkoun's been pretty underrated in his UFC career. He's a pretty boring fighter. Has gotten finished once or twice in the UFC. Torres Finney, who actually beat the Jonathan McAuliffe on his first appearance. I believe it's him, or it may have been. Wait, who? No. It was the next fight, Cam Ralston. Beat an Aussie on the Dana White Contender Series on his first appearance. But I'm going to take Malkoun in this fight. I think he's the better overall technical grappler. I trust his cardio quite a bit. He's able to put on a pretty good pace in most of his fights. And you look at Malkoun and you always think he's going to lose, but against these lower level guys in the middleweight division, he usually has a pretty dominant grappling advantage over them. And Torres Finney, even though he has a pretty good amount of good top pressure, can get you on the ground, I don't see very much versatility in his tool bag in the grappling department, which is really his only skill in mixed martial arts. I don't see it. Malkoun has a couple of submissions on his record. Pretty solid in scrambles as well. I'm going to take Malkoun by submission. I think he's going to pace out Torres Finney and get a late third round submission in this middleweight fight. Another Aussie for the win. There's going to be a lot of Aussie wins on this card. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Moving on to Cam Rowston, who we were just talking about, who took a loss to Torres Finney on the Dana White Contender Series. He's taking on Cody Brundage. Cam Rowston's coming off a very impressive knockout of Andre Petrosky, who's a very pretty middleweight with decent grappling skills. Not the most technical or skillful guy you'll see, but wrestling-based guy who he can wrestle, man. Cody Brundage, he's a scrappy, tough guy. I'll give him that. Skill-wise, though, not the best. He can dirty up a fight, though. He can get on the inside, rip to the body, get that dirty boxing going, get you up against the fence, and get you in the clinch positions. However, Rowston, he looks very impressive as well. Another Aussie guy. Pretty big middleweight as well, 6'3", going to have a significant reach advantage over him. That's 6 inches of reach. Skilled and technical striker. Decent power. I wouldn't say he's super powerful, but he has finishing potential for sure. Cody Brundage, compared to Andre Petrosky, he's maybe a little a worse wrestler, but a little more scrappy, can hit you more on the feet than a guy like Andre Petrosky. However, I think Rowston's way too skilled for a guy at Cody Brundage's level. I think Rowston's going to cruise past him. I'm going to go with a third. I'm going to go decision. Brundage is really tough. Rowston's not super powerful. I think we'll see some spots where Rowston maybe is getting pushed up against the fence. Brundage is able to land a few good, significant strikes on him. But the distance management of Rowston, we talked about this in one of the previous fights, it's very good. He's very sharp on the feet, very accurate as well. Like, compare him to McAuliffe, Jonathan has more pop on his shots. He's more brutal, throws more like 110% every strike. Rowston, he's more picky. He picks his shots, and when he finds good shots, though, very sharp with his kicks and punches. I like the way he moves as well. And even if Brundage does put a good amount of pressure on him, Rowston moves very well on the back foot as well. I think he's going to cruise past Brundage here. I'm going to go decision, though. I think it's kind of hard to finish Brundage, especially Rowston, who I don't think is that powerful, but I think he's going to tune him up. I think this will be an easy, unanimous decision. Maybe we see a 10-8 round in there for Cam Rowston, especially in the first round before Brundage maybe gets the chance to muck it up a little bit. Moving on to Junior Taffa. How is Justin Taffa cut his older brother? I think he is. These guys are pitiful, man. This is the Billy Elikana is from New Zealand, so I don't know if y'all have beef, New Zealand and Australia, but y'all are practically the same thing to me, man. I like both countries, though. It looks like epic places. I got if I'm going out to the what do y'all call y'all's deserts or whatever, the outback, heading to the outback, cooking with Volk, yeah. I'm taking Billy Elikana. Junior Taffa, honestly, should have just stayed at heavyweight where you at least have, the puncher's chance to win fights and the other guys are lower skill level. Billy Elikana's only lost to Bogdan Guskov, who is a top 15 light heavyweight, a very solid fighter in the light heavyweight division. It's his only loss in the UFC. Beat Ebo Aslan in a horrible fight. Got the job done, though. Ebo looked a whole lot better in his last fight against the Polish guy who knocked him out. Just beat a guy in Kevin Christian who has some decent mixed martial arts skills. I believe I picked Elikana in that fight, though. He just won by submission. I think Elikana has a huge ground advantage here. I think anything he wants on the ground is his to take on Junior Taffa. This guy has no grappling skills whatsoever, or the old Taffa bros. I mean, let's give him some applause, though. He's not morbidly obese anymore. He's fighting at 205. Let's give him some applause. That's impressive. Billy Elikana, though, on the ground, if he's smart, he gets it there early. Super fast, first round while you're still dry. No sweat going everywhere. Knowing Junior Taffa, though, he's probably sweating before he steps in the cage. But I think Elikana, first round submission, I like that prop play a lot as well if you're a gambling man. But even on the feet, Elikana, he's not the most skilled guy, but he's smart. He stays at range pretty well, has a decent jab, hits that inside low leg kick all day long. I think anywhere this fight goes, Elikana just has a significant advantage, just technique-wise. Junior Taffa, he's just a puncher, hits you with the big old meaty hook, as the boy Lucas Tracy likes to say. But if Elikana's smart, this is an easy first-round sub. And even if this fight plays more out on the feet, I think Elikana can tit and tat his way to an easy decision win on the feet. This is Elikana all day long. Moving on to finally some better fights. Except kind of the next two. Why can't I click on it? Dude, why can't I click on it? Let's reload. Okay, I can't click on it. Quillian Salakild and Jamie Malarkey. I like Quillian Salakild a lot. I think he is a legit prospect at lightweight. I wish he was fighting someone on a higher skill level compared to Jamie Malarkey, but, it's not the worst thing in the world. It'll put another win on his resume because I'm most definitely going with Quillian Salakild in this fight. Jamie Malarkey, he looks, I don't know if Australians, if y'all dip tobacco, if y'all are packing a freaking pillar of tobacco, he looks like a guy who dips. He's, I don't know if they do that in Australia, but he's dipping that Copenhagen long cut tobacco. He looks like that. He's a gritty guy. He's a gritty, tough Aussie dude. Not a wealth of technique or skill, though, in mixed martial arts at all. He's not, totally vulnerable on the ground. Just nothing really to offer there. And on the feet, he just kind of likes to muck it up a little bit with, some loopy combinations and such. Quillian Salakild, though, very well-rounded. Very good offensive wrestler. Has a tight submission game as well. And on the feet, he's so long and rangy. He's a big lightweight as well. The only issue with Salakild, if you rewatch that Nasrat fight before he brutally KOs him by head kick, he was obese as a child and his family owned a bakery. Bang! And, he knocks out Nasrat Haqparast. But he's as that fight progressed, though, you can tell he's getting touched up a little bit by Nasrat, but he plays very well into his length. Started sticking out the jab better, really digging the body kicks in, working the inside low leg kicks. The only thing I see Malarkey really having any sort of success here is just blitzing in with combinations. And Salakild, he's a little bit on the slower side for lightweight, especially defensively. And, Malarkey may land a couple of two-punch combinations, maybe once or twice in the first round. But no matter how Salakild wants to get this done, I'm going to take him by KO in the first round. The dude is powerful, snappy with kicks. And when he finds his range with the hands, he's very snappy there as well. Catches guys at the end of his shots. Long, rangy guy. These Aussie, man, they got these long, rangy guys who are powerful, athletic. Quillian, he's a little slow for lightweight. However, this fight he'll be plenty good enough. I think he steamrolls him in one. I like Salakild a lot. I think he has big potential in the lightweight division. I'm hoping he gets this done easily in the first round and we see a top 15 matchup coming his way afterwards. But Jamie Malarkey, he's a tough guy. He's a tough nut to crack. You can't crumble that cookie too easily. He's a bit of a tricky customer, as DDP likes to say. He's a bit of a tricky customer. But I don't think it will be that tricky for Salakild. Like I said, he may find a couple of successes, a couple of decent opportunities with a couple of blitzing, loopy hooks, a little just throwing rock and sock'em robots combinations. Salakild, though, sharp guy. He'll find an opening, and I think he'll put Malarkey's lights out in one. Malarkey is tough, though, but he's very finishable as well. I mean, Mauricio Hufi, who, not you can kind of compare him to Salakild in some areas. Rangy, sharp, pretty. Salakild, not as much as Rufi. We'll talk about Rufi in just a little bit. Not as as sharp as a counter striker as Rufi necessarily. However, he's smart. He's very gifted in the octagon. I'm very confident in this guy being a top 5 guy in the lightweight division in the future. I think he rolls over Malarkey. Round 1 KO for Quillian Salakild. Moving on to this fight. I mean, after that Derek Lewis fight and Cortez Acosta, I don't know if I want to watch this. I think this one has more chance of just a brutal knockout, though. And I'm telling you right now, Tai Tuivasa is knocking out Taliesin Teixeira. I'm going to go round 1. Taliesin, I think the only reason he's in the UFC is because he's not completely immobile on the feet, and he's 6'7". 6'7"! I hate that. He's 6'7", and a rangy heavyweight and not a complete blob. Tai, I don't know what he looks like exactly right now. He was like 350 during the time he took off, but then there was some pictures surfacing about a month ago where he looked like to be in half decent shape. So, and I think in a fight against a guy in Taliesin Teixeira, who I doubt Tai has any fear of Taliesin. Talison's not too powerful really either. I mean, he's a heavyweight, so Tai can always get caught, but I'm going to just trust Tuivasa in this fight. If Derek Lewis, less than a year ago, can knock out Taliesin Teixeira, at this point, Tai's younger than Derek Lewis. Tai Tuivasa beat Derek Lewis himself. I'm going to trust him to get the finish. I think even on the feet, Tai, skill-wise, even though he'll probably be slower just because he's a big boy, Tai, let's ouch. Perth, baby, Perth. What does he always do that? Shooey. This is like a meme card to me. Australians are the best, man. Clap it up for Australia. I love Australia, man. Aussie. Tai Tuivasa is going to knock out Taliesin Teixeira. Tai even has some decent leg kicks. Maybe he kicks those long freaking hockey sticks out from Taliesin beginning of the round. I'd like to see Tai kind of maybe put Taliesin on his back foot a little bit. Just find the big shot over the top to put Teixeira's lights out. I don't like looking at the guy. He's not good. Like, he's ugly. He's built weird. A horrible spider tattoo on his chest. I need you to KO this guy, Tai. And honestly, with the boxing, I think Tai's sharper than the guy. I really do. He can put together combinations decently. He'll work to the body as well. And like against the fence, he can drop some nasty elbows. This reeks of a Tai Tuivasa first round KO. He gets his first round KO, and then he fights like a half decent heavyweight, and he gets either grappled to death or just outpaced, after this one. But I think Tai, he likes to fight. He likes to fight. Super powerful. He's KOing Taliesin in one. And never would I thought really Tai coming back would be matched up with a guy who I'd give Tai the boxing advantage skill-wise. So I think this is a good matchup for Tai, and I think he KOs Taliesin in one. Moving on, this is the fight I am most excited for. This is going to be a really good fight, especially if Fiziev decides to let his hands go more than he has the past couple years. And that kind of plays into why I'm picking Mauricio Rufy. I know he just came off that loss to Benoit Saint Denis, and I think Fiziev will be looking to use his grappling more. However, Fiziev he's not the grappler like Benoit Saint Denis is at all. However, he has good takedowns, times stuff well, gets on top, but he lets guys up a lot of the times. I think he just likes to mix them in. But I think Fiziev, Rufy, in this matchup, Rufy is going to throw harder, slicker, more damaging shots. And I think no matter how else this fight could play out, in my mind, it's either Rufy finish or a decision, okay? And in that decision outcome, Rufy has more chances to win solely based on volume and accumulative damage and how it will look in the eyes of the judges. Rufy is powerful, slick, great off the back foot, and I think he's just going to throw more than Fiziev. Even if Fiziev decides to be more active than he has more recently, because he beat Ignacio, but he kept that pretty close, and I thought he had quite a bit of a striking advantage on Nacho. And Bajo Mendez, he is a solid striker, rangy, but he doesn't use his range a whole lot well. And honestly, rewatching that fight like I did recently, he doesn't have the best technique in the world. He's pretty sharp, fundamental, on the feet, and the range helps, but he doesn't use it a lot. Rufy, he's beautiful off the back foot, right? He's going to have a good reach advantage on Fiziev as well, about 4 inches. I think it plays right into Rufy's hand. Even when Fiziev decides to load up in those 3-4 strike combinations in the pocket with Rufy, Rufy's really slick with rolling with the shots. So even when Fiziev lands, I imagine it's like the end of those 2, 3, 4 punch kick combinations, but Rufy's already rolling with it and is not taking as much damage as Fiziev will coming out of those exchanges with Rufy off the back foot, landing that devastating. Is he a southpaw? Well, he switches his stance a lot, whether it's the left or right hand. a check hook, or even Rufy throws beautiful front kicks up the middle. I think this is Rufy's fight to win. I think it's a good matchup for him. And Fiziev is live, for sure. This could be a very close fight, and Fiziev very well could win it. He has the skills to do so. But Fiziev, he's a solid counter striker as well. But I don't think he can counter strike against a guy like Mauricio. Mauricio, he throws so many different things at you, and if you allow Mauricio to put you on the back foot, if Fiziev decides to let that happen and he wants to be the guy to counter, I don't see that working out well for him with Rufy just racking up hard leg kicks, hard body kicks. And once he starts working that, as the fight progresses, he starts attacking the head more and just starts to hurt you. His strikes hurt. Fiziev, everyone always talk, this guy, like Rogan, devastating power from Rafael Fiziev. Granted, his striking is really good, and it's not like he throws pillow hands, but he's not this KO punch guy, man. He's a wear you down in the first couple of rounds, finish you late guy if he's going to finish you on the feet. That's the type of guy Fiziev is. And Rufy, this whole fight has that one punch knockout power, that one flying knee up the middle. And I think Rufy's going to have too many weapons for Fiziev to be able to outpoint Rufy. And I think it'll be really hard for Fiziev to put out Rufy with how well Rufy with how well Rufy moves on the feet. He's super slick. And I know the Benoit Saint Denis fight was a really bad look, but the dude's been training with Volk. He's he's not on social media. Like, these fighting nerds, like we've seen Prates and Jean Silva come back from losses and look better than ever. Like we just seen with Jean, and we seen at UFC 322 when Prates starched Leon Edwards. And that was a bit of a jumping competition for Carlos Prates, whose best win was Jeff Neal. So, even though Rufy coming off that dominating loss to Benoit Saint Denis, I'm going to trust him to win this fight. I'm going to go decision, though. Fiziev's a hard guy to finish. He's really tough, too. And I think this is going to be a high-level, exciting fight. I do think there's a chance it could be a little boring with Fiziev not wanting to exchange very much or put together too many combinations and Rufy just waiting to counter. But, like, on just picks-wise and, like, who has the best chance to win, I think it's Rufy for all the reasons I just laid out. And I think Rufy's just the better overall striker, too. Fiziev may be a little more technical, like Muay Thai guy, but Rufy's, like, he's kind of like Jean Silva. When he hits you, it's gonna hurt you. And Fiziev's tough, so I don't think he's gonna be stopped in this fight. I think it'll go to decision. I've seen this a 29-28 decision with Rafael winning maybe a slower pace first round. In those latter two rounds, Rufy starting to come alive and put it together, build confidence, start to time stuff way better. And Rufy's timing is great. And Fiziev, he gets pretty basic a lot of the times. It's just kind of mixing the same tight hooks, the same entries with the footwork, and mixing in the leg kicks with some more body kicks, high kicks ever so often. And Rufy seems pretty intelligent on the feet, bare none. And I think he'll be able to time that stuff quite easily. So I'm going Mauricio Rufy in this fight. I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be really good. I think this is a really good fight. And I am kind of hoping Fiziev does do some grappling, though, to see if Rufy really locked in and decided to make some changes and improvements in that aspect of his game. Because, like, look, Rufy is super exciting, incredible striker, devastating guy, super fun fighter. I want him to be good at grappling so he can rise up the rankings so we get sick fights, man. And Fiziev, he's kind of had his time. You know, he's on that 3-fight losing streak. I had that injury to Gamrot, even though Gamrot was winning that fight quite easily. Lost to Gaethje twice. Seems like it's kind of time for Rufy to put it together after coming off a loss. It seems like the men in the UFC now is coming off a loss and kind of learning. Seems like a lot of guys they lose one, a young up-and-comer, and they come back better than ever. And this reeks of that. I think Rufy gets this done 29-28. I think it'll be clear, though, in those 2 rounds that Rufy wins. I'm excited for this fight. It's sick, man. Moving on to the co-main event, Daniel Hooker and Benoit Saint Denis. I really want Hooker to win this fight because I've liked Dan Hooker for a while now. I remember laying in a hotel bed watching him and Paul Felder scrap it out. And I didn't really know who Dan Hooker was at the time. I was like in middle school, so call me a casual, whatever. I knew who Paul Felder was, knew Paul Felder was a tough, solid striker, and Dan Hooker went out there and put it on him. And I was really impressed with it. His fighting style is wonderful, exciting. Benoit, though, ever since that Poirier loss, then the Moicano loss, fought Prepelec, and it's kind of like, it's Prepelec, then comes out there and dominates Mauricio Rufy. Starches Beneil Dariush in like 6 seconds. The dude is fighting for his life. He is all grit, blood, guts, pressure, physicality. And that's just a bad recipe for Dan Hooker. Arman handled him way too easy on the ground. And, like, Dan Hooker had a lot of success and beat Mateusz Gamrot. But here's the difference between guys like Benoit is almost more of that, like, mountain style, Caucasus region wrestling, like the pressure, the wrapping of the legs, wearing you down, getting the body lock, dragging you to the ground. Gamrot's more shoot double legs, shoot singles, get in the clinch, look for trips, things like that. And Dan was able to counter that quite a bit, even though he got taken down quite often with the front chokes, the guillotines, threaten that, and land nice shots in the clinch, nice elbows. Benoit is not that style of grappler. Benoit is going to put the pressure, use his physical strength advantage that he will have over Hooker in this fight, put him up against the cage, put him on his back, and not let him up. And the thing about Benoit, when he puts you on the ground, man, he keeps the pressure on. He lays down nasty ground and pound. And he's also a better jiu-jitsu guy than Mateusz Gamrot as well, I would say. Pretty solid submission game on him as well. High-level grappler Benoit is. And on the feet, Dan Hooker for sure has the advantage. And, like, dude, if Dan can keep it on the feet, he has a solid chance to win this. Benoit's pretty slow, can get sloppy on the feet, even though he's always dangerous and has decent fundamentals on the feet. Powerful guy, physical, like I keep saying. He's just a powerhouse at lightweight BSD. Dan Hooker for sure has a shot on the feet with the kicks up the middle, keeping him at range, firing off that jab. But I just don't see Dan being able to counter the grappling of Benoit whatsoever. I think Benoit, like Arman did, will just impose his physicality on Hooker, put him on the ground. And Dan Hooker, jiu-jitsu ain't the best. Like, he kind of has a nasty guillotine and stuff. But I think Dan Hooker survives round one, but then it's a round two cleanup for Benoit Saint Denis on the ground. I'm going to go Benoit Saint Denis by arm triangle. I think he's just going to wear on Hooker, make Hooker not want to be there in the fight for very long, bust him up early in the first with ground and pound, and I think he'll sub him in the second round with an arm triangle after just smothering him with top pressure, getting mount, just landing elbows, hammer fists, and just not letting up on the pressure he'll put on Hooker. And as long as he keeps Hooker on the back foot and can get this fight to the mat, which he should be able to, everything I've seen from Hooker, it doesn't show me that he's going to be able to stop Benoit's pressure and pace in the grappling department. So I'm going Benoit Saint Denis by second round arm triangle. Put it on the books. I guarantee that one. That is the precise pick of this fight. Moving on. Gosh dang, I gotta breathe more when I talk. I have a headache. I'm losing blood flow to the brain. Moment of silence for Volk. Yeah! Alexander! The great Volkanovski. One of my favorite fighters in the UFC. I love him. I love Diego Lopes too. How can you not? He's probably one of my favorites as well. How can you not love Diego Lopes? Always willing to go into the fire. Throw heavy strikes. I think Volk wins again. I think it's going to play out very, very similarly as the first fight. After watching that Jean Silva fight with Lopes, where Silva was honestly kind of piecing him up on the feet, Lopes, his head just stays on that. He'll do this, but that's about it. And while he did find success, took the fourth round off of Volkanovski, had him in real danger, had him in a bit of danger in the second round as well, but Volk still took that round. I just don't see him making the improvements that's necessary for him to be able to put Volk out or win this fight. He for sure can't win by decision. And Volk, he's already felt the power. He's been in the cage with Lopes already. Volkanovski has one of the highest fight IQs in MMA history. He's super sharp, one of the best strikers, overall kickboxers we've seen. Also had pretty decent success in the grappling department with Diego as well. And Diego wanted no part of offensively wrestling against Volkanovski, which I could see Diego maybe mixing up more in this fight. But the way Volkanovski was just able to fire off those calf kicks in the first fight, keep him at range with the jab and just pile up damage with the jab. And when Diego would come in, even though Diego landed good combinations here and there, Volk was just able to work off his blitzes so well off the back foot and counter with nasty right crosses, tight hooks on the inside. I just don't see anything Diego Lopes can do different. And I think it's a huge advantage for Volk that he's already been in the cage with Lopes. And I don't think it does anything to Lopes really with his style and the style of fighter he is that gives him any advantage being in the cage with Volk already. Because Volk's not a power puncher. He's not. So it's not like feeling that power or anything like that's going to make a difference. And Volkanovski, he can change up game plans. I don't see him necessarily fighting the same exact fight with Diego Lopes. I don't know necessarily where it will be, but I see him finding more success in different areas and different strikes in this fight compared to the first one. And Diego Lopes trains with, Francisco Grasso, I believe, that Mexico camp. Like, they're it seems like a basic camp, right? They're not like these savvy MMA, beaker, test tube guys. We're watching film. Diego Lopes is a blitzer, man, and you gotta love him. You gotta love his style. Very good grappler as well. I really am interested to see if he decides to go more offensive with the wrestling and grappling. But Volk has some of the best takedown defense in the game, man. Islam had a terrible time getting him down. And I don't see Diego Lopes being able to dominate Volkanovski on the ground. And that would be the only thing that would give me any worry or doubt about Volkanovski losing this fight. I know that fight, when was that? April? So it's been a little bit... what is that, like 9 months? I don't know. But I know Volk's older, but I don't see, unless he just fell out of his prime over this time in this last fight, Volkanovski, I think, possibly could even have a better performance this fight. Maybe get it to the ground and get a finish somehow. Not only am I rooting for Volk, but I'm very confident in him in this fight. Should be another sick fight, though, I bet. But I think a huge advantage is for him is he's already been in there with Lopes. He's felt his best shots. He's felt his physicality in the cage. And Volk, he's gonna live and breathe off that. That he's been in the gym ever since that fight and this fight being announced. Working, watching film, putting together different combinations. His coaches are gonna give him different call-outs for him to utilize in this fight. And Diego, he's just going to go and press on the gas and try to take Volk's head off like he did last time. And you just can't beat Volk like that. I mean, of course, there's always the chance that Lopes does catch Volk and he knocks him out. And I will probably cry my eyes out. And look, there's probably a 35 to 40% chance that happens. Honestly, that's how powerful Diego is. And if you factor in a little bit of more age on Volkanovski. But, man, the emotion of him winning that belt back after losing to Makhachev, then coming back and getting starched by Topuria, and then coming back and beating Diego Lopes, a young, hungry, powerful, very skillful fighter in Diego Lopes, and getting his belt back off of him, I think that's just more fuel to the fire. And I think Volk goes out there and has another, legendary, classic Volk performance, tunes up Diego Lopes, another 49-46 decision win for Volk. I just don't see it going any other way unless Lopes catches him. And Volk, he's seen the combos. He's been in there with him already. So good at adjusting to the fight on the fly. It's 5 rounds, so if Volk has to, he can always take a round off and lose that round if he must, kind of like he did in the first fight when he got hurt and was just trying to get his eyesight back because he got grazed by the glove. I just don't see any avenue besides the big KO for Lopes. And Volk's he's proved to me so many times, man, that unless you're literally GOAT status practically in Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev, you're not beating him. And Diego Lopes he's not that type of fighter, even though he's phenomenal in his own right exciting. He's not those two guys. And I don't see Volk losing to him whatsoever. And I can't wait to see Volk have another classic Volk performance. It does suck, though. It's going to be a repeat name on his resume, though. But you know what? I'm gonna take Volk by 4th round finish. I think he gets a finish. I think being in the cage with him before, the time to study him, the amount of training Volk does, and how sharp he is, I think he's going to find the shots to get Diego hurt, get him on the ground on his back. And, dude, people forget, man, Volk has nasty ground and pound. He's relentless, tenacious. I love the guy, man. I can't wait to watch him go perform. All love to Diego Lopes, too, though. Phenomenal fighter. But, yeah, that's my pick, guy. Those are my picks. That is my preview for this fight card. I'm more excited for it than I thought I would after rewatching some of the more prospect guys on the card. I think we could see a lot of finishes and some cool moments this card. Can't wait. Comment below where you disagree with me on my picks, or if you agree. If you like the Aussie hat, it's just a hat so my neck don't get sunburnt in the summers when I'm out and about. But yeah, that's it for today's video, guys. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you've watched all the way through, I know these videos, they're pretty long. If you've watched all the way through, thank you. I love you. I appreciate that. And please support the channel by liking the video and subscribing. This is Seen All MMA. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Ooh, I'm filming this on Tuesday. It'll come out Wednesday. So by the time you see this, tomorrow, the live press conference reaction will be on deck for the week. UFC 325 fight week. Let's go. Back-to-back numbered events. Peace out. God bless.